Somewhere on a snow-covered slope in the northern Ural Mountains, a tent lies torn open from the inside. 9 people slept inside it. None of them are there now. The temperature outside has fallen far below freezing, and the wind hasn't stopped for hours. Somewhere in the dark, footprints lead away from the shelter, down toward a distant tree line. Some of them were made by feet wearing nothing but socks. Whatever happened here happened fast. Fast enough that no one paused to grab a coat. Fast enough that the group didn't use the tent's entrance. They cut their way out through the canvas wall instead. Something forced 9 experienced hikers into a night that should have killed them within the hour. The question that has followed this case for more than 60 years isn't only what killed them, it's what frightened them enough to run. In January of 1959, 10 hikers left the city of Sverdlovsk for an expedition rated at the highest difficulty grade Soviet authorities recognized. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, 23, a radio engineering student known for meticulous planning and homemade gear, including a stove he built himself. Most of the group were fellow students at the Ural Polytechnic Institute: Zinaida Kolmogorova, Ludmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Rustem Slobodin, Yuri Doroshenko, and Yuri Krivonishchenko. Semyon Zolotaryov, an outdoor instructor a decade older than the rest, joined them for this trip. None of them were amateurs. Every member had completed serious expeditions before. Their destination was Otorten Mountain and back. One member, Yuri Yudin, turned back early, sidelined by illness. It was the decision that saved his life, and one he reportedly carried for the rest of it. The group traveled north by train, truck, and finally skis, into terrain that grew emptier by the mile. Photographs recovered later show them laughing, building fires, hauling sleds through waist-deep snow. By late January, they had passed the last inhabited outposts. Ahead lay forest, and then the bare, wind-scoured slopes of a mountain the local Mansi people called Kholat Syakhl, a name that translates roughly to Dead Mountain. On February 1st, the weather turned violently. Visibility collapsed into a wall of blowing snow. The group lost the trail and climbed higher than planned onto the mountain's exposed shoulder. Rather than descend to the shelter of the trees, they camped where they stood, on the open slope, likely to avoid losing the elevation they'd fought all day to gain. What happened next can only be reconstructed from what they left behind. The tent was pitched with care, the way hikers pitch a tent meant to last the night. Skis anchored it in the snow. A small stove was assembled inside, and the group passed around a handwritten joke newspaper they'd kept the whole trip, filled with light-hearted lines about the journey so far. Then, sometime after dark, something happened inside that tent that has never been fully explained. 9 people, in the only real shelter for miles, in cold that could kill an unprotected person within the hour, chose to leave it. When search teams found the tent more than 3 weeks later, it told a story that raised more questions than it answered. The tent had partially collapsed under snow, but nearly everything inside remained. Boots, coats, food, a pot still holding the remains of a meal. The entrance had not been touched. Instead, investigators found the canvas sliced open from the inside. More than one cut, as though someone needed out immediately and the normal exit wasn't fast enough. Outside, in the snow, they found footprints. 8 or 9 trails leading away from the tent toward a tree line over a kilometer downhill. Some were made by boots. Others were bare feet, or feet wrapped only in socks, walking into sub-zero wind. They had not stopped to get dressed. Whatever drove them out of that tent didn't feel like something they could simply wait out. The first 2 bodies were found near the tree line, beneath a tall cedar tree, its lower branches broken and scraped as though someone had climbed it, perhaps to see something in the dark. The remains of a small fire lay nearby, long since burned out. Both men wore only light clothing, no coats. 3 more were found over the following days, scattered across the slope between the cedar and the tent, as though trying to reach it before the cold caught them. Among them was Igor Dyatlov, found a few hundred meters from a shelter he never reached. It took until May, when the snow melted, to find the last 4. They lay in a ravine, buried under several meters of snow, dressed in clothing that had clearly been stripped from the bodies already found, as though the living had tried to keep the dying warm. These 4 had suffered severe internal injuries: fractured ribs, a fractured skull, serious damage to the chest, without a single external wound to explain how it happened. No weapon was ever found, no unexplained footprints, no sign that another person had been anywhere near that ravine. The official Soviet investigation, led by prosecutor Lev Ivanov, closed within months. Its conclusion pointed only to a compelling natural force, a phrase that explained nothing and was never elaborated on. The files were sealed. For decades, it was the only answer anyone received. The most credible modern explanation involves an avalanche, though not the kind most people picture. In 2021, a pair of Swiss scientists used physics modeling to show that the slope above the tent, weakened by wind-driven snow and undercut by their own tent platform, could release a small, delayed slab of snow. Not enough to bury the camp, enough to injure some of them, terrify all of them, and convince the survivors their shelter had failed. It fits much of the evidence, but when the first search teams arrived weeks later, they found no obvious sign of a slide, a gap that divided researchers for decades. Proponents argue wind alone could have erased the evidence before anyone arrived to see it. Closely related is another explanation: violent katabatic winds, gusts that funnel down a mountainside at hurricane force, strong enough to convince the hikers their tent might fail. And once outside, in total darkness, in screaming wind, disoriented and possibly injured, panic alone could explain the rest. A group scattering, trying to reunite, running out of time in the dark. More than 60 years later, no single theory accounts for every piece of evidence. Each one explains most of it, and leaves the rest for the next investigator. What we know for certain is smaller and somehow harder to accept. 9 capable, experienced people, in a shelter they had built with their own hands, chose the freezing dark over whatever was happening inside that tent. 9 hikers, 1 frozen mountain, 1 tent cut open from the inside, and a question that has outlived everyone who might have answered it. What did they see in those final minutes that made the freezing dark feel safer than the tent?